Oh man, what a week. It truly was the tale of two companies. We started the week with Arcade1up, where we went from the worst of times, and then we wrapped it up at the end of the week with iconic arcade leaks to the best of times. We're going to talk about all that and more tonight on Saturday Night Live Stream right now. Alrighty, thanks everybody for joining us. As you know, it's been a big week here at James Hates Everything. You know, it started off, as I said in the intro, with Tuesday with that Arcade1up leak, and we covered it as soon as we found out about it. And luckily enough, that got picked up RGT85, and he shouted us out, and that exploded the channel a little bit. I think we're at about 20% growth from just from Tuesday, really Wednesday to today. So can't say enough how much I appreciate RGT85 giving us the shout out. And I appreciate all you joining us as you do each and every Saturday. It was super fun to see. um, RGT, cover my video. And, I always, as I said, always appreciate you guys. We are now closing in on 2,500 subs. So that is unexpectedly early, thanks to him and to everybody else. So for those of you joining us for the first time tonight, I really appreciate it. This is the part of the show where we say hi to everybody who dropped by. And right out of the gate, bright and early, was Mike Hawkhurts, who took time away from his 48-hour chat-a-thon on the Discord to drop by and say, Double Dragon is a classic. Not exactly the best age game, but looks like a nice cab. We have Paul Mindeman in the house and says, it has begun. Moderator extraordinaire Jason the Little Alien has stopped by and says, happy weekend. Gramps Arcade, nice to see you. Brooklyn Menace, always nice to see you. Empire Arcade. Carlo is in the house and says older gamers might lean towards Double Dragon. Of course, talking about the poll we have in the chat. Make sure you answer that poll. I realize if we could have more options in there, we would. And so I had to combine a few. If you're going to buy one or the other, smash that one for that one. And again, it's if you could only buy one, we're trying to figure out which one you want the most of what we know is coming out this year. Stock Jock says, I just want someone to give us more early 80s, and he's happy for those of you that are excited about Double Dragon. He's tired of the fighters and the beat 'em ups. B Kirby, thanks for dropping by. Stupid Fat Hobbit says the Double Dragon has snuck up on us pretty quick after Street Fighter. I'm wondering if Iconic Arcade has a few more surprises to close out the year. That's 2 announcements in the first 2 months, and he must have read my mind because we're going to talk about that a little bit. R Burger, thanks for dropping by. And we've got Stock Jock, and I think I said Stock Jock already once, but maybe not. Yes, I did, because you were talking about Robotron. So there goes my brain. Steve Sale is back in the house. E. Leo, nice to see you. JJ. Doc Jock, thanks for gifting 5 memberships to the channel. I really appreciate that. And let me figure out how to work this fandangled thing here. And as always, thank you. All righty. We got Thor KC, who says, I voted for the FU, but I have to admit that Double Dragon is the art I would be most interested in the available choices, with FU not having any. Let's see here. All right. Brooklyn says, nice. I've been stuck around 1800 for months. I gain and then lose. Yeah, it is a fickle, what is it? A fickle lover that is YouTube. It's always interesting. JJ says, I like the flexibility of the iconic with its pie, but too many fighters. Yes. And that is exactly it. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight. So let's go ahead and bring up some information. Of course, let's see, let's go like this. All righty. So as we mentioned earlier this week, unless you were living under a rock, Arcade One Up in their continual ineptitude leaked this Mortal Kombat 2 Classic SE Edition, often referred to as the Peasant Cade. This is the new version, and we're not sure the price. We think it might be $299. These can only be purchased at Walmart. They were, we've covered this. They're blowing out the older ones to bring these new things in. And as of now, it's the only new Arcade One Up has announced in 2025. And if you can call a leak an announcement, but we do know Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man are coming out in this same style. And why are people so upset about this, Cade? Why is this the worst of times? Well, it represents a giant step backward for Arcade One Up. You have the fins, those spoilers jumping off the front of the cab. You have that old light box marquee, which was faded, essentially, a light bar with a sticker over the top of it. So it never really looks good when lit up, if this one even lights up, because typically the Peasant Cades haven't lit up, but this one they may be going back to that so that they can have a light up marquee. And of course, for the first time ever from Arcade One Up, they are putting a 16:9 screen in this thing. You can see the bezels on there on the left and the right of this game. And of course, this game is naturally a 4:3 ratio game, so our aspect ratio. So having this in 16:9 is kind of ridiculous. So right away, lots and lots of garbage on this cab, but we're not done. It has 13 games instead of the current Classic Edition, which has 14 games. They've removed Tubin off of this games list, and you can't see it very well because where I'm at, but you see the Michael B. the Game Genie. You notice this. Of course, we saw the pixelization of the art, but he connected it with the Pixel Bash, and he is exactly right. They Arcade One Up is ripping off a cabinet design from a different company that is also one of their partners, Bandai Namco. So very interesting that they would take the liberty of ripping this off. And just in case you haven't seen it, here is a Pixel Bash side by side with this Arcade One Up Classic SE. You can see the Pixel Bash has pixelation at the top and the bottom, but clearly a direct ripoff of what Bandai Namco is doing there. You can't really can't really appreciate the work that one designer probably did just being stolen by somebody and incorporated into theirs. And when you get into the world of actual products where you're trying to make a profit and make money, this is like a huge no-no. And as we talked about, was it last week with At Games and Namco burning that bridge, trying to kill off Miss Pac-Man and steal it out from under Bandai Namco? How will they take Arcade One Up ripping off their designs to make money for one of their competitors? Darren Kane says, do the bezels physically cover the sides of the screen, or are they filling the sides of the screen with static art? That's a great question. And as you can see here, this is like your traditional 16:9 multi-cade would have. These are not bezels covering the 16:9 screen. The 16:9 screen is fully visible, with those static image bezels on the left and right, like the digital bezels, the artificial ones. Yeah, they could have made a actual plexi cover to hide that it's a 16 by 9 screen, but they didn't think about it or even go that far. Like just silly, because now it doesn't even look legit, right? It doesn't even look like the replica most people want these things to be. Jason says, I still call this the Thanos snap artwork. Yep, yep, that's true. Definitely looks like the cab is being dissolved into nowhere. Carla says, no, James, that's an AI translations. They are too lazy. Yeah, I wish that was AI. This is somebody in Photoshop going, I can draw a square and going click, 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 click. Look, I changed the art. It looks completely like nothing else except all those pixel bashes. Iconic seems like a great option since it already has the Pi with no need for the LCD converter or additional USB encoder. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the hardware is behind these. Calvin Wong says, no Sinistar or Gorf missed opportunity. Yeah, they added those to that uh, Midway, uh, the Golden Tee Midway XL, right? Why didn't, if they took tubing off, they add those on? Well, who knows? But speaking of that, and speaking of stealing art, right? Arcade1up's, what's pretty much one of the, I think last year they really only released two new cabs, if you could call it that. I mean, technically you had the smaller version of the Golden Tee 3D, but that was one they've already released. They just made it smaller. And you had the X-Men 97, which was, cartoon art on the Marvel versus Capcom 2 cab. And so, yeah, I mean, as much as those are new, I guess you could say that. So Arcade went, and then of course they had the Pac-Man Legacy Edition, which was a rehash of the same Pac-Man Plus they'd released before. So roughly 4 cabs last year. And one of those we're going to talk about, because not only did Arcade1up steal this year the Pixel Bash design, but if you guys remember on that Golden Tee Midway, they basically completely ripped off the design from the Chicago gaming company who did an Atari Golden Tee. And originally, from what we've heard in rumors, this Golden Tee Midway was supposed to be Golden Tee Atari before Arcade1up burned the bridge with Atari. So otherwise, it would have even been more of a ripoff. But let's go one step further. Look at those marquee designs. They're almost identical. They call this thing, Arcade1up does, the Arcade Classics. Chicago Gaming Company called theirs Arcade Legends. Arcade1up literally copied like the collage of characters on each side of the logo. Like there is, and both are angled, right? They have that kind of pyramid Star Warsy look on their text. Like Arcade1up literally stole the marquee design and the cabinet design for the most part from Arcade Legends. So whoever the graphic artist right now is at Arcade1up, they're just straight up ripping off their competitors. I mean, that is how low Arcade1up has become. They are not doing anything original. They're rolling back, reverting all the advancements they've made over the last 5 years to get their cabs closer to what their customers want, to those true recreations. And now they're just going backwards and they're stealing from people. And it has become completely and utterly pathetic. Dudes, they could have put the special moves in that area, would be better than just this. Yep. Yeah, on the bezel, it would have been better if they didn't have one at all. Pimp Star says crazy. Yeah, the slim combat. Yeah, that's the other thing we didn't mention, is it's slimmer than a normal Cade, but hey, it's also a little wider to accommodate that widescreen. So there is that. Thor says the Pixel Bash thing would have made sense on the Stretch Deluxe form factor, but that is being back to the riser needing 3/4 shape that could have the original cab art makes this just so stupid. Yes, and I added so, and that is correct. Uh, I wonder if Walmart with big with the new margin. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the price is going to be. I imagine it's going to be about the same, maybe a little higher. But obviously, Arcade One Up is cutting every cost they can possibly find. Chris Ford said Photoshop is free. Uh, not exactly, but the pixelation side art is a sign. It's like when Thanos snapped his finger and things disintegrated. One Up will soon disappear. John D now holds the Infinity Glove. So speaking of John D and of course Media One Up, as you guys know, they are working with a variety of companies, and one of those is the company that we are talking about this week that is taking uh is a company that is riding a high, and that is Arcade Iconic Arcade, who went from this company that produced these cheapy little arcades in Canada and Europe, multicades that were made on really just thicker than cardboard machines, the ones Michael B loves to see at GameStop and um, kind of mock when they just came out. Well, when Media One Up and John D got involved, they elevated this company to a whole other level. And of course, we saw their big announcement at CES. This was January 7th, going back to uh, what was mentioned earlier from Stupid Fat Hobbit about 2 releases in 2 months. This first release here is their first cab, and I'm going to say cab because it's the same cab, but you can choose from 2 different side art. Same games list. We've got 15 games. If you pre-order, I think you get an additional one, or it's 14 games, and if you pre-order, you get the additional one to make it 15. There's rumors there are more games coming to this as well, and these look amazing. They're in that Dynamo HS1 design. While they're not entirely arcade accurate on the side art, they are improved because everybody knows those Capcom ones were solid black with a just simply a poster on the side. These give them a more dynamic view, but they stay true to that original art with the using the original assets. And so these look both amazing, and everybody is a lot of people, won't say everybody, was excited for these, but a little hesitant because it was just more Street Fighter. And while these are going to have a host of Capcom games, many of the Capcom games on here are ones we've seen before. There are new Street Fighters we haven't. You get Alpha 1, 2, and 3. You get Street Fighter Third Strike. So there's a nice set of Street Fighters on here that haven't come in a home arcade concept. And of course, we have to mention these are XXL cabs, so they are bigger, like roughly 80-90%, I think closer to 90% a full-size cab. So these are more realistic. They're 19-inch screens instead of 17-inch screens. You have a little more room to play. All awesome, right? So we've all talked about these pretty much to death over the since CES, but they are exciting, and that's what makes the next news, the ones that leaked yesterday, so much fun. KP says, I think One Up is doing amazing things. Can't wait for the Blitz Slim Katie. Well, appreciate the super chat, KFB. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see any more blitzes anytime soon, but you never know. So there's Glenn rocking the Build-A-Cade FU, one of the highlights coming out later this year, and hopefully the Kickstarter very soon. Meatball Saucy says, missed the notification. Well, thanks for joining. Better late than never. We just wanted more and different games. That's right. So that was the one big disappointment I think people had from John D's announcement. We loved that there are some new games. We loved that John D had finally gotten a cab announced. Pre-orders up. It's not set to ship until June. So he doesn't actually have one in anybody's homes yet. But we were excited for that because finally there was some competition for Arcade One Up, and it looks good. and it looks great. And when I say for Arcade One Up, obviously there are many other competitors around multicades and things like that, but we're talking specifically about those recreations, those nostalgic cabs, and this was it. And so we were excited. I personally didn't expect to hear anything again from Iconic Arcade until these cabs shipped, till these were in homes, right? I thought all their effort would be around these things, getting it moving. But as we saw yesterday, that is clearly not the case. They are out there hustling and making moves. And of course, we're talking about the announcement from Arc World Tour, Arc Systems, the owner of Double Dragon license, announced that they are working with Iconic Arcade and will be releasing 2 new Double Dragon cabs, which you guys saw, these XXL size. These are awesome. And interestingly enough, one's a new game, right? One's not even a game that's actually even out yet, right? Double Dragon Revive. So let's take a look at that, right? So here's the Double Dragon Revive cab. There is some screenshots from the game. So the interesting thing about this one is it doesn't seem to be your traditional beat 'em up. This is taking the Double Dragon beat 'em up and turning it into more of a fighting game. So let's take a closer look. And I'm going to keep the sound off here, but I love kind of this trailer from Arc Systems. You have the transition from the old into the new. You can see you've got super moves, you've got all kinds of things in the environment you're interacting with, you've got bosses, all the things you'd expect from, you know, a more traditional fighting game as opposed to a beat 'em up. And it looks like you're going to be in a fighting game that is 2 players against a computer opponent, which is really kind of interesting. So it'll be how much of this is beat 'em up, how much of this is fighter. I guess we're going to have to wait and see until later this year. But that is certainly one that I think looks interesting. It looks cool. You know, there's been a lot of kind of duds in the Double Dragon space in modern times. So it'll be interesting to see how this one does. I, for one, am pretty excited about it. So let's talk a little bit more about this cab in just a moment. Got let's see here. I was busy watching P-Dubs shame himself. Yes, playing a little Karate Kid. Double Dragon is my nostalgic trigger for sure. Meatball, yeah, for me this is a home run. I love Double Dragon. You can see you probably can't see it right now. If you look over my shoulder over here, right? Like, got some Double Dragons back there. But yeah, it's one I'm certainly excited to see finally. And the Cornercade is in the house. And Chris says, looks like the size are great, just not into either game list wise. PD7, thanks for dropping by. I hope Iconic Arcade knocks it out of the park. I just wish there was a deluxe option. Unfortunately, I can't fit XL. Yeah, so as we mentioned before, right, or I didn't mention the Iconic Arcades, right? We've talked about these in past videos, how they are Pi 5s. So the nice thing about that is it's more open platform. So you've got access to USBs where you can just drop in new controllers and bring in new experiences. You can use different SD cards to bring in your own games list. So they're much more versatile products than just a standard Arcade 1-Up or a recreation with a set games list. You have the functionality to modify this thing and go well above and beyond on those cabs. B. Kirby says he pre-ordered the alpha, as did I, and I will be grabbing the Double Dragon. I know the other content creators think this won't affect GRS pre-sales, but I completely disagree because John D's cabs can be multiplayer multi-cades. Excellent point. Only complaint about Double Dragon is that I already have Double Dragon on my original unmodded iArcade, and that's kind of enough for me. I would pick Double Dragon Art before Street Fighter, but Street Fighter Alpha is the game I don't have. Double Dragon RPG. And if we have two skins for Street Fighter and two skins for DD, Smash TV and Robotrons are skins. So that's the interesting thing here is Stupid Fat Hobbit. I don't think we have two skins. I think we have literally two different games. So as you look at this Double Dragon Revive, right? This one has a widescreen 16:9 monitor, which is the correct aspect ratio for this game. So right away, you'll notice that that is going to be different than what we see on the Double Dragon. You also notice both players on this one have 6-button control layouts, which is obviously a more modern, more akin to fighting games. And so this is clearly built around a more modern arcade experience. And it makes you wonder then, can a Pi 5 run the same kind of games that are running on the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, and S, because and PC, because that's where this game is coming out. So you need a pretty powerful PCB to run this game. So I'll be interested to see when we get tech specs on what this cab is running and what they'll actually be charging for this, because it may end up being something that maybe it costs a little more than the Street Fighter Alpha cabs. And it'll be interesting to also find out if it's going to be as customizable, say, as those Street Fighter Alpha ones. You also notice it looks like we have, I don't know how well you can see that. Let me blow it up here a bit. Right here, there's a couple, you probably can't see where I'm pointing. Well, that's not it. Sorry, guys. Right here, it looks like there's some more USB connectors. So maybe it is still running just the Pi 5, but very interesting, again, the different screen, all that is intriguing to me. I don't really know what to expect from that one, but let's transition a bit to the actual Double Dragon cab. And you'll notice here, I have Double Dragon Collection listed. I talked about this in the Super Game Room Dudes stream yesterday, but you'll notice like in the ad that Arc World Tour put out, down here in the underneath the coin mech, they kind of just stuck this poster in here. And this poster is for the Double Dragon Collection game series. And you can tell it's not part of the render because it's just stuck right on there. It's not at an angle or anything like that. Nobody's given it any perspective. It's just laid on there to signify that this cab has the Double Dragon Collection on it. And so let's take a look. Obviously, I have the 6 games listed here. It's Double Dragon 1 through 4, Double Dragon Advanced, and Super Double Dragon. So let's take a look at that game. So you see here, there's our 6 games. And of course, this is the ad for the Switch edition. You got that honestly looks like the NES ROMs there, but you've got the original game. You've got all that fun stuff on there. And so, again, there's 4. I believe that was 4. Could have been Super Double Dragon, I guess, because I don't know that one very well. But you got this big fighting collection. So I think you would, at a minimum, you can expect to see those 6 games on here. I would imagine you may have 1 through 3 having both the maybe NES ROMs and the arcade ROMs. We can hope, because it would be very shocking if this only had NES ROMs. And I think as you look at the picture on the screen, you can clearly see it's got arcade ROMs. So it would be a nice bonus if it also has the NES ROMs on there. but we're looking for the arcades, right? We don't want all that other stuff. Rosim says, I like the idea of getting modern fighting games and cabinets like the Revive one, but I'd probably go for OG if I got one. Yeah, for me, this is the one I want. And the reason that this is the one I want is this right here. Right on the left is the original Double Dragon with the Taito side art, which has just had that kind of arrow with the Taito logo. You got that iconic marquee. You have the dragons around the screen on that bezel. And as you look at the iconic arcade version, you can see how closely they matched that original design. It's not exact, right? But it's a replica and it is very close from the form factor to the side art to the bezel, everything. And of course, right, we have the things we're looking for in a recreation. We have a 4:3 screen. So again, the correct aspect ratios for these games. You'll also notice on the control panel, it's player one looks a little iffy. Player one looks like it has 6 buttons. Um, I don't know if that's just because the way the render is, or maybe one of these games is a one player and you can't, and it needs 6 buttons. Something else maybe that's on that cabinet. It's hard to say. But player two has clearly the 3 buttons that the original Double Dragon has, including the arrows that tell you what each button does. So again, we have a much more accurate cab for the Double Dragon. So this is the first near perfect recreation from Iconic Arcade. This is the kind of stuff at least I've been waiting for. Those recreations of the classic 80s cabs. And ever since we saw the leak of Double Dragon cab at Arcade1up, I've been excited. I've been wanting this. This is one of these staples that nobody's really released. I know the iArcade had their version, but that's not a replica cab, right? It's fine if you want to play that game. We have many ways to play that game, but it's not that replica. So for me, this is one I've wanted in my arcade forever. And it's the beat 'em up that started them all. This is like so iconic to me. And I get people say, oh, it didn't really hold up well because um it's very primitive at the time. You had these sprites that were more complicated. They took up a lot of RAM, so you get a lot of freezing. You don't have many enemies on the screen at a time. It's definitely slower paced. But man, it is so classic, and it's one I still play over and over to this day. So it's one I really love, and I can't wait for the opportunity to pick this one up. So I'm really excited about these 2 new ones. This leak. I hope we get more information from the Media One Up team soon. I don't know that they intended this announcement to come out, or I'm sure they knew about it. I can't imagine that Arc would have these renders and have this all these assets created and posted out there with them not being aware. But I'm anxiously waiting for more details from Iconic Arcade and Media One Up about these cabs, because I'm honestly interested in both of them. I'm definitely in myself just looking at it until we find out more money. I'm definitely interested in that Double Dragon OG edition, right? That collection one. That's the first thing I've been arcade. I think I've been like really excited about in quite a while. So I'm happy to finally see Double Dragon making its way to us, and hopefully it's not some special thing and it is going to be everywhere. I can't imagine it wouldn't be with the cost of this. But it could be it could be flashbacks of um collab cabs, right? What if these aren't mass produced? What if these are just 2 collab cabs that are being uh used in the finals of this company's annual competitions. Boy, wouldn't that be disappointing. Uh, so hopefully that is not the case, and these are actually going to be for sale, where we can get our grubby little hands on them. Uh, but and if not, oh boy, the collab cab season is back. Let's see here. All right, hit the wrong button. Ohio Red Can says Double Dragon was the first cab I ever rehabbed. Hopefully this one won't have the traditional slowdown. Yeah, I would imagine it will, right? If it's the original arcade ROMs, I would imagine you would still see those in emulation, but we will see, right? We will see. Uh Strider says I'll be pre-ordering the original Double Dragon, can't wait. Do you have more Double Dragon Revive gameplay? I want to see more. That is all I currently have was the trailer. I didn't want to show any of the other clips from some of the other outlets, but you can definitely find them on YouTube. That is the hype trailer directly from Arc Systems. So that one I felt safe using. I did mute them because they have copyrighted music in them. That's the other reason they were muted. But they both look really, I mean, that one looks really good in my opinion. So there's it's just I think gonna play different. And one of the things I've talked to people about, I've questioned people about, and I really don't understand why this has never happened. And it looks like Double Dragon's going the opposite direction of this. But I've always said, why is Street Fighter? Why did Capcom never put out a Street Fighter beat 'em up? I mean, it's called Street Fighter, for crying out loud. Why wouldn't you take the iconic Street Fighter characters and put them in a beat 'em up where you can have all those special moves and do the walk through the streets? I know Street Fighter 6 has a little bit of that RPG element where you do walk through the streets and do that. But I mean, classic 2D Street Fighter 2 era graphics, but in a beat 'em up style with all those moves in a modern retro game. I think that would be fire. I would play the hell out of that. And if it came in a modern arcade, I would play the hell out of that one too. Um, but yeah, so this Double Dragon one looks like they're taking the beat 'em up to the fighting scene instead of the fighting scene to the beat 'em up. So should be interesting. I can't wait to see more gameplay on it to see if there are aspects of beat 'em up still remaining, or if it is indeed just what it appears in the trailer, which is just a series of fights. Uh, Carlos says, I'd rather play DD on this than iArcade's uh, gorgeous monitor. It's absolute trash. Yeah. So, unless, of course, you have the buy stuff arcade mod, and in which the iArcade one would look better. By the way, there's an iArcade for sale around me for $200. I'm thinking about getting it. It's the wrestling one. But knowing if I got that, I'd have to pay another $200 for a new screen and et cetera, et cetera. And, you can't really get Glenn's stuff for it anymore. So I don't know how actual interested I'm in it because I don't really like the design of the iArcade visually. And now with Double Dragon and stuff coming out, who knows? Agreed, I have iArcade, but the cab looks is far superior. This year is going to suck for my bank account. Yeah. Yeah, this is a crazy year, right? We've gone through a couple years of basically nothing to essentially four different cab designs from Iconic Arcade. You've got the Wonderland pinball, you've got, of course, Glenn's Build-A-Cade FU. I'm sure I'm thinking of forgetting something else that's coming out for some reason. I got something in the back of my mind, but I can't put my finger on it. Like it is just crazy. And as Mike pointed out at the beginning of the stream, we're 2 months in and we have essentially four different cabinets out for for in the at least in the being shown to us from Iconic Arcade. I doubt they can keep that pace up for the year, but oh man, oh man, oh man. Very interested in seeing where we go. I never would have thought we would have seen more cabs in nothing until the end of the year. And it's highly likely that maybe this one doesn't go up for pre-order until let's say April for a release in October to coincide with this Arc World Tour. That makes more sense. It's the fourth quarter release for Iconic Arcade. So then they'll have these four different ones potentially out where you can purchase them around Christmas time. And so that schedule of, hey, you're going to get two of these maybe every 6 months, certainly be interesting. But it is interesting. It is intriguing that 2 months in we have these to talk about already. That's pretty fast out of the gate, especially considering nothing shipped yet. I'm opting for Numbskull's Lunar Lander over all these cabs, says Video Game Vegas. Yeah, that thing will look cool. I have yet to get into Numbskull simply because of how big they are. I have a lot of the New Wave toys, but the Numbskull, they do a beautiful job as well. They're just, quarter or, yeah, 1/4 scale is pretty large. And I'm fighting for room already with all these toys. I'm sure the Pi 5 won't play it. Yeah, that's my thought, is that I don't know how a Pi 5 could play that game. So that's what makes me wonder, are they putting a mini PC in it? Are they doing a PCB? Or is it truly just a one-off for this event? So, hopefully we get some info soon on that, because if these do end up just being uh you know just being collab cabs, I'm going to be sorely disappointed, because I'm still going to try to buy one of those Double Dragon OGs and it's going to cost a hell of a lot more. uh Probably unrelated news, I just spotted a review of a new Supreme collaboration with Transformers. Interesting. uh B. Kirby says he likes both Double Dragons. He's interested in the revive. I think it would be cool to have a modern fighter. Yep, it definitely would, and that's hopefully, this kind of, I've said that before. If At Games wants to sell their 4K ALU, that's the direction they should be going. Is finding one of these modern kind of retro games and making that their marquee title and doing it all around that, not Killer Instinct, not whatever. Redo your whole cab, make it around one of these new modern games, and then you have a reason to own the thing. Uh, we are buying cabs we can play, not ones for your Barbie dolls. Carlo's on fire tonight. Dude's Arcade says Double Dragon is insta buy for me. Only concern on these iconic arcades are where the power switch is. So you'll notice in these renders, guys, that power switch wasn't up in those speakers, right? Right? You did see that. Whoop, let's bring it back. There's no power switch up there. Of course, we got better views. No power switch. So, uh, I would expect that power switch, as we were told, the ones we saw at CES were very early prototypes. So that switch was not going to stay there, we were told. So already in these renders, that switch has been moved. So expect to have them moved on the other. And it appears, since we can't see them anywhere else, it likely got moved to the top. It's possible they're on the back, but hopefully they got moved to the top where it's easy to reach. Up there, right above or right behind that marquee, is the perfect spot. But good catch, good question, because that's nothing I heard anybody else bring up, but I wanted to confirm that switch is no longer there. I would not only love to see a Media 1-Up make cabs that look like classic arcades, but wouldn't it be cool to see oh yeah, there is by the speaking of the angry video game nerd, have you seen the new 8-bit version that um uh Mad Pixel Gaming showed today? Oh boy, that looks fun. That's a very cool looking version. Uh, Meatball says, Saucy says, I do like the accuracy of the render. Of course, real versus the render. These are all box covers on the console versions, assuming uh, arcade would be included. Yeah, that's my hope as well. Uh, not that was super. They also need Double Dragon Neon. I've heard that. Yeah, just there could be way more games on here. My assumption, based on the throwing that sticker on there, is that at a minimum we've got those 6 games. And yes, I'm assuming they're the arcade versions, not the NES versions of these games, because that would be sorely disappointing. Super Double Dragon is awesome. No console ROMs. I'm okay with console ROMs as long as their arcade ROMs are also on the cab. You can't do an arcade with just console ROMs. That would piss everybody off, right? That's my arcade all over again. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've got the Arcade1up Killer Instinct, right? Doesn't it have the console ROM of Battletoads? I mean, it's fine. It's like the 4th or 5th title on the thing. It's not the marquee title. We need those 1 through 3 better be the arcade ROMs, right? Would you imagine how many quarters it would take to beat Cuphead? Oh God. I'm horrible at Cuphead, and I love the art style so much. I would buy an arcade version of that any day. Um, that game is so great. Uh, I'm calm now. 19K Fox says this is the one to get, even if it comes to retail. Absolutely. Let's see here. Uh, that is a whole lot of games. Hopefully, we get to see some of those. Oh yes, talking about P-Dubs switching to easy mode. Let's see here. Superstars and WrestleFest won't be on that. Yeah, hard to think you'll get to WWE anytime soon. Uh, he's a better character. Found that out quickly. Go Miyagi, go. Strider says, hope they add on Battle Toads and Double Dragon Arcade. So I don't think they will do that, because I believe the license is owned by not by not by the Double Dragon team, but the Rare team. I believe that was actually a Battletoad game that they had licensed the Double Dragon characters for. So I don't think Arc has the rights to actually release that game. Sure, they could negotiate it, and obviously John D knows who to work with on that because they scored that license on the Killer Instinct cab. But so you never know. But I would be surprised if that's the case right now, given that Rare is over with at games and stuff like that. I would be shocked if they included that. 1,000% replicas. Yep, that's what I'm into. I'm okay with having a multicade. You know, I'm sitting here next to this X Arcade. I dig that. Obviously, I'm very interested in Glenn's Build-A-Cade FU, and that's because I can make it look like a Nintendo cab. Uh, what beat 'em up game sucks in 2025, and why is it Double Dragon? So I still love Double Dragon. B Kirby, thanks for gifting the 5 super chats. Really appreciate it. And where'd you go? Thank you very much. Appreciate the support. Yep. Michael B's all in on Double Dragon. Meatball says, I hate my iArcade because of how bad the art is. Unfair to the device, but I cannot help how it feels. Yeah. Uh, uh, you know, I think people have heard me say it to death. It's the look of the iArcade, it's the look of the ALU that I don't like. The rest of it, I can get over, right? Like, it's but people love both those machines because of how good the hardware is in them. But man, they just don't look neither one looks right to me. They just don't look like arcades. They look like some, I don't know, whatever. They just don't look right, I guess. Um, uh-oh, Cornercade got a membership. Now he's gonna see all the secret videos. Yep, look at all the guys thanking B Kirby for his generosity. Uh, yeah, really appreciate that, guys. P Dub's embarrassed probably about his Karate Kid. That game's so fun, and it's such a miss that they did not include online play in that. So good. Dealing with the limitation of Double Dragon, particularly on Commodore 64, was definitely part of the nostalgia. But I kind of get enough from iArcade to satisfy me, but any replica cab wins my attention. Yeah. Yeah, I can totally understand that. Like, it's one of those things that, like I said, to me it's a bit of history, right? Cuz without a doubt Double Dragon 3 is not a very good game. Double Dragon 1 is got lots of issues with it, but they're legendary, right? They're the ones that kind of started it all. They're the ones we all looked at as like this is a game method that will be around forever. To me it's similar to Donkey Kong, right? Like, Donkey Kong's a fun game. It's not like it's super elaborate or anything, but it's fun. And Double Dragon's the same way. Uh, Double Dragon for my Commodore 64, absolutely garbage. Yeah, if it's a collab cab, I'm scared. Uh, I don't know how to take that comment, Squid. I'm way behind. Lots of chitter chatter. Let's zoom up here. You forgot about the At Games 4K stand-ups. No, that's the 4K ALU, um, I believe. Yeah, that's that you're talking about. And that's the one I'm saying if they should make that ALU look like a modern widescreen cab with a modern widescreen game art on it, and get rid of the current design, get rid of the Killer Instinct design on it. Killer Instinct doesn't match that kind of a cab. It's okay to put it on there, put it on there. But damn it, do something like this. Revive. Go get the Karate Kid license. Go get the Turtles um Shredder's Revenge license. Go get the GI Joe one. Go, or the Power Rangers. Go get a modern retro game, or a modern other fighter game, and make that the cabinet design so it makes sense in widescreen and would look cool in there, even if it never had an old nostalgic release. A Shredder's Revenge cab would be awesome. It would be a huge win for At Games if they actually could release a cab with that on there. Uh, Hopefully the switch is on the top. Yeah, it should be. I just worry that when I turn on my arcade, I use Casa smart outlets, no room to reach behind the cabs. Yeah, I mean, with those Pi 5s, you can obviously do the soft shutdown and just leave the cab on. Little different than Arcade1up's, right? The power draw with the Pi in the soft shutdown is probably very, very minimal. Let's see. Jason, it sounds like my games of the week. Yeah, with the Map Mania and all that stuff. Rare and Taito. Taito. Coin door is badass. Should be the double deck coin door. Yeah, it would be nice if they would put the bottom parts on these faux coin doors just to make them look more real. Uh, Media one up. Holla if you hear me. Uh, well, Shotgun Sean is in the house and he is clean and sober as always. I can't buy cabs that don't look like they ever sat in an arcade. Uh, it needs combat tribes. There you go. Double Dragon music gets you hyped. Hey, look, just be glad it doesn't have the Double Dragon movie art all over it or the terrible action figures that came out in the 90s. Quick playthrough, even solo, nostalgic. Uh, the At Games 4KP is the first and still only home arcade product that I play constantly, and like how much it looks like a real arcade. Everything else is one or the other. Yeah, so you assume you're talking about the pinball, right? It's exactly right. Like that's the multicade pinball, and that's the only one I play. Well, I take that back. I have two because I have the ALP regular HD and then the ALP 4K. And while I play the 4K a heck of a lot more, I made sure to keep some games on the HD that I don't have on the 4K so that I'll play both still, and it's not just sitting there. Uh, is this $700? So we don't know, right? Um, we have no idea what this is going to cost. It could be the 699. It could be more, right? If it's got not so much the Double Dragon one, but if the Revive has a much bigger, a PC or something else in that, it could be a lot more expensive. That's what makes me a little hesitant because you have to know that John D knows what the sweet spot is on the price. He knows where the customer is the sales are going to drop off. He's seen those numbers at Arcade 1UP. He knows, like, hey, if you cross a certain threshold, you're not going to move near as many cabs. And so they have to be strategic about what kind of hardware and stuff they're able to put in this so that they can keep that price at that strategic point. But if it's a collab cab, right? Like that company can say, well, it's just for us. We can put in whatever we want and cost isn't that big a deal. That's what kind of scares me about that one is they want to use it to promote that game and not necessarily make it available for sale. It's not real clear, right? It just says, hey, they're sponsoring the Arc World Tour. So I'm hoping, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know for a fact, I have no inside info. Uh, I'm I leaning towards they're going to be available for sale. I don't think you put this much work into to making it truly like recreations like this if it's not for that purpose. And every indication it is. Why put on the USBs? Why do the cabinet designs the way you did? Like it's got to be. But Double Dragon was a movie starring T2's Robert Patrick in 1944. What? Yeah, it had the guy from Party of Five, one of the kids from Party of Five, right? Was one of the brothers. It was an absolutely terrible movie. And they used it to create a very terrible line of toys that went on. I think there was even a cartoon around it at that point. Uh, B. Kirby gifting another 5 memberships. What a gentleman. Very much appreciate it. Here we- Thank you, sir. Yeah, Glenn is one hell of a dancer, isn't he? uh, does any of these really matter? Everything matters, MG. Everything matters. Uh, Clean and sober is Shotgun Sean's evil twin, indeed. The Akari Wars cab is on my list to make. Yeah, you got to do it, Thumper. Thanks to Glenn, I was able to make that was my number one cab, and I knew nobody was ever going to make it. And so, thanks to Glenn getting that license, getting that stick out there, I was able to take the Arcade 1-Up HS5 and make my Akari Warriors cab. I love it. I've got heavy barrel on it. I've got all those classic rotators on it. It's perfect. Between Glenn's sticks and Buy Stuff Arcades helping me with the artwork and the vertical 19-inch monitor for that thing, it's awesome. Love it. I would love the Akari Warriors cab. Absolutely. Let's see. I'd be out if it's over $700. Yeah, I'm hoping the Double Dragon one is $699. I'm hoping they both stay at that price point, right? I just don't know how you can run a more modern game on there. I mean, I guess it's possible, right? Just don't really know. Like, that game looked like it had a lot of 3D rendering and stuff, right? So it's going to be difficult. I disagree. I'm hot gluing a poster of Alyssa Milano on the side of this thing day one. There you go. Says, James, you are not great at reading. I'm not. What did I misread? Don't forget Alyssa Milano. James has very untrustworthy eyes. Okay. Meatball Saucy with the $10 super chat says, this advertisement has been paid for by the NWO. Tune in tomorrow to February 23rd at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. BR, Home Arcade Gaming, and Controversy, Sunday Saucy Sunday. Thank you very much. And everybody, I know Jason, if or Danny or whoever, drop a link to Saucy's channel in the chat. He is going to reveal the super secret controversies, and it should be very interesting tomorrow. And that deserves a P-Dubs dance. Jason dropped that in there. So thank you again, Meatball Saucy. I'll definitely be watching. And apparently Danny wants everybody to know he is eating Taco Bell. James shills everything. Yep, James is going to shill the things he likes and shit on the things he doesn't. Not totally shit on it, right? Like, I don't like the ALU, and many people do, so not gonna, think bad of anybody that likes what they like. That's what, hell, that's what makes the world go round. What I do want to do is, give at games at least my opinion of what would make me want to buy the product. And that is, of course, making it look better and putting a better art design on it and better shape and everything else. And, yeah, this live stream is sponsored by Iconic Arcade. I have zero evidence or receipt to support this, but just saying it just by saying it means it's true. So, of course, it is not sponsored by Iconic Arcade, but there you go. But it's definitely, the whole point of tonight's show, right, was that really we have the tale of two companies. The one that was once on top of the mountain, number 4 video game hardware manufacturer. Highly skeptical of those claims, but whatever. Doing $100+ million a year in sales, supposedly, and how quickly and fast they've fallen. And the people they cast aside went out, found other companies to work with, and within a matter of months are the most exciting things happening in home arcade. And that's really the point of tonight's stream, was just to show how quickly real competition can just change everything in this space. And that's what Iconic Arcade is doing. That's what Media 1-Up is doing and helping other companies do. That is the most interesting thing I think that is happening right now. And uh, we finally have a new 80s cab recreation apparently coming this way, and that is super exciting. KFB says, wow, so according to a YouTube trailer, Double Dragon Revive is on all platforms October 23rd on PC, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. So this cab may be out October 25 too. That's exactly right. And that is also when I think that Arc World Tour thing is in October, which is all fourth quarter sales. It would be the perfect time to release all of that. So thanks for the $10 super chat. And I think, I don't know. Since I started off playing silly ass videos, I'll keep playing them. That's enough of that one because that one's music really annoys me. Yeah, thanks, John D. I knew you could do it. Not a failed homebrew maker background either. Uh, MG just wants James to wind up so he can laugh at his jokes on mini golf. Uh, Dudes Arcade says, hope the tweak it to be closer to the original Double Dragon. A deluxe version would also be good for my setup. Yeah, I think it is interesting, right? Like, where will deluxes be with Arcade1up? Are they gonna do anything? Are they gonna release a deluxe Mortal Kombat with the Pixel Bash art? Are they going to? It's just gonna be an interesting year to see see how worse or recover if Arcade1up can recover at all. I know I think I think the signs of these classics are like, hey, they're done. They're gonna stick to this Walmart thing. Um, they're gonna let the other ones kind of fade away. I think I wouldn't be shocked, uh, but who knows? Who knows? I love that we can all share our opinions on products, but still all be friends. Yeah, I mean, like, the, everybody likes different things, right? Why can't you have a? Does everybody like the same cars? The people that like the imports, like the Hondas and the Accords and the Toyotas, and they're not and like to soup them up, right? Fast and Furious style, versus the guys that like to take the Camaros and the Mustangs and soup those up. Like, they're different sides of the same coin. Those same people, I'm sure, back there going, "Oh, mine's better than yours," and "Oh, that Rice rocket this," and "Oh, the American made junk." You know, but the point is, they're all car guys. They're all doing what they love. Everybody things that everybody likes is crap to some people and awesome to other people. It doesn't matter what it is. And so what's the point of shitting on something completely? And so, like, yeah, I'll give my opinions on what I think would make something better. There's no point in, going nuts or like being like, I can't believe you like that. I guarantee you, whatever it is, whether it's home arcades or whatever, you know, there's going to be more you get everybody agrees with each other on than they disagree with each other on. So why be pissy about any of it? Anything in this space that gets people excited, that gets people interested in the hobby is a good thing. Whether you like what that company's producing or not, don't you want more people playing arcade games? Don't you want more people interested and bringing and more people? If you truly love these games, you truly love these retro nostalgic games, or Mikey's toys, movies, whatever, you need more people to come into this space. You need these companies to make more things because you need to pass that on to future generations so they don't die. Like, all this stuff could go the way of the dodo bird if people aren't producing and making more things and getting people more interested in. And these are the classics, right? And I think some of the biggest IPs in the world right now trace back to these games. And who cares how you play them? Just play them. Like, Jesus, you don't have to play it in a specific way or in the perfect way, and you don't have to hate on somebody because they like it, they enjoy playing it on a multicade, or they enjoy playing on an emulator, or they enjoy playing it on a handheld, or they enjoy playing it in a recreation. Just enjoy that people are playing the games and you can bond over that. 4% voted for that Arcade 1UP MK Classic. Yeah, those are what they call troll votes, Biggie. So speaking of, let's just get over to that. So where are we at? Oh, that's very interesting. So I'm going to end the poll, and it went away, but oh, there it goes. All right. So we have 33% with the Buildacade FU from Glenn. We have 32% the Double Dragon collection. And we have 30% with the Street Fighter Alpha and 3% with the Mortal Kombat Classic. So very interesting. I know a lot of people are excited about Glenn's doing. Clearly, a lot of people are excited about what Iconic Arcade is doing, with them getting a total of about 62% there, right? So a lot of good products to look forward to people getting. I look forward to seeing everybody's reviews for the ones they buy. These things are getting expensive, right? So it's hard to imagine being able to afford or purchase all of these. But it'll be interesting to see which ones everybody chooses to spend their hard-earned money on, and what 2025 is going to look like. We're 2 months in, almost into the last month of the first quarter, and I think 2025 is looking pretty damn good so far. So as always, I want to thank everybody for joining. Thanks everybody for supporting the channel. Again, another shout out to RTG for the shout outs this week and the support this week. All you guys for dropping by, the super chats, the memberships. Uh, coming up, look for more or another 1/4 arcade review. If you guys have not seen that series, and very few people have, I've started a new series on the channel. Hopefully once a week, every Wednesday, we're dropping a 1/4 game review, where we have just 1/4 to review a classic arcade game. We'll play it, we'll talk about it, and then we'll review it on graphics, music, gameplay, story, and of course, overall. We've already got a couple of them out there, some very strange games, and that's what we're going for. Don't anticipate 1/4 game reviews for things like Tempest and Donkey Kong. Everybody's played those. We're looking for the off the wall stuff that might just be a hidden gem out there. So I'm having a lot of fun doing that, exploring all these kind of like no name games for sure. So look for another episode of that. Of course, I got more toy videos coming. I don't know if you can see behind me, but I opened up a crap load of superpowers. So I have some of those videos. I'm about to open the entire series of Masters of the Universe cartoon collection. Really excited to dive into those. And so lots more fun stuff coming up. And of course, if we get any more news on these Double Dragon cabs, I'll be sure to share those when we get them. And as always, thanks for joining us. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to play VR. Walk about, hit everybody's Discords, Arcades Anonymous, P-Dubs, Michael B, Brooklyn. Everybody's got a Discord. That's where we organize for VR. If you're enjoying VR, want to just hang out, chat, play golf, or one of the other million VR games, do it. It's a ton of fun. And yeah, that's all I really got. So until next time, have fun.